a narcissistic individual, it's more than natural, it's human nature to want to defend ourselves to these individuals, to want to call them out, to want to challenge them on their accusations towards us. So if a narcissistic individual isn't really in touch with you very often and you go to speak to them about something and they claim they haven't heard from you in a while, and you sort of say, well, it works both ways, you're then in the narcissist games. They can then find a way to attack back at you. When it comes to narcissistic individuals, no matter what you say to them, they are going to write it in their head to suit their narrative, so that they can either be the hero or the victim, the hard done to person, or they want to come across as better than you. So we can often want to challenge them, we can often want to call them out, we can often want to stand up to them, especially when you're around other people. However, with a narcissistic individual who feels entitled to do as they please, has a willingness to manipulate and exploit you, and lacks the empathy to care about how their behaviour impacts your life, the best way to deal with them is to go no contact, leave them to go and live their life while you go and live yours. This isn't always possible, especially if it's a family member that you might see at a special occasion. Therefore, it's best to try and avoid them, that limited contact, limited communication. And there is a few disarming phrases that you can use when dealing with a narcissistic individual. Although you'll often notice how when you treat them, how they treat you, they get offended and they play the victim and they accuse everyone of no longer caring about them. They go around and tell everyone how you're unsupportive, how you weren't there for them. They will go around and tell everyone how they can't understand how you can just cut them off, even though they've fallen silent on you and ghosted you so many times. Narcissistic people are very challenging to deal with, be it a friend, a family member, a partner, a co-worker. They have that inflated sense of self-importance and they will create tension, they will create conflict. They're playing a game of chess with you, and every move you make, they've already planned in advance what move you will make, so they can make a move to make you look like the one that's in the wrong. When a narcissist is coming at you and they're trying to guilt trip you, when they're trying to make you feel bad because they failed to take responsibility for who they are as a person, one disarming phrase is by simply just saying, I'm sorry you feel that way, which is acknowledging without taking responsibility for their feelings. So you're acknowledging their feelings without taking responsibility, which is exactly why a narcissistic individual will do something that provokes a feeling within you, and then when you go and discuss that feeling with them, they just turn around and say, I'm sorry you feel that way, because they lack the empathy to care, and more often than not, they're smug that they've provoked that feeling within you. When they make plans and just assume that you will drop everything and rush to their aid and you can't, and then they try and guilt trip you with those, oh, well, what am I supposed to do? I'm going to be on my own, or after all I've done for you, and you say, I'm sorry you feel that way. You're recognising they've got those feelings because those feelings usually make you feel guilty and change your mind to serve them. You're not taking responsibility for them. Another one, when they are attacking your personality in some way, attacking your character in some way, accusing you of being selfish or awkward or stubborn because you're trying to do something and they don't like what it is that you're doing. They believe that the attention is going away from them, is by simply stating, I can accept your perception of me. You can accept that that's their perception of you. It doesn't mean you have to change who you are as a person to please them, to serve them. Know your intentions before you get into any sort of discussion with a narcissistic individual, and stick to your intentions. Similar to when they're attacking what you're wearing or what you're doing, and you can just simply say, I have no right to control how you feel about me. We don't have any right to control another person's perception of us. However, we don't need to change who we are to please somebody else's perception. With good intentions, there's no right way or wrong way to live your life. There's only your way. Similar to when they're guilt tripping you, and you can say, I'm sorry you feel that way. Another one is by simply saying, I accept how you feel. When they're attacking you again, when they're coming at you, when they're accusing you of things, you cannot accept how they feel. This is often why you change who you are to help their feelings. Narcissistic individuals look for ways to be offended, and they also look for ways to be incredibly offensive towards you, and you can't alter that within them. It's about recognizing who they are and leaving them to it. With a narcissist, you are not going to be allowed a different opinion, otherwise they're going to turn around and accuse you of not taking their side, of, oh, I knew you'd agree with them, oh, I knew you'd never see my point of view, and they play the victim of what a terrible person you are. And you can simply just say, we see things differently. It's not wise saying these things if you are alone with a narcissistic individual, because it will escalate the situation. This is more when they're trying to humiliate you in front of an audience, because to a narcissist, those around them are an audience to either gain that admiration or to get everybody laughing at your expense. And when they're not getting their own way, when you call them out, when you challenge them, a narcissist is more than likely going to suffer that narcissistic injury, and then they're going to rage out at you, which is when you simply just need to say, your anger isn't my responsibility, because it's not your responsibility. We kind of think they're coming from the place we're coming from, and they're not. So a narcissistic individual will go all out to bait you into something. They will provoke you, they will wind you up, they will frustrate you, they will get that reaction from you. And who takes responsibility for that reaction? You do. We take responsibility for our own reactions. We feel bad for reacting negatively and out of character towards them. And when someone is hell-bent on bringing the worst out in you, they're not the kinds of people you want to be around. Just like when you binge on junk food, your body doesn't feel so great. When you're around toxic people, you mentally don't feel so great. So they will go all out to provoke you, to get that rise out of you, and then they blame you, they play the victim, they ask what's wrong with you, why are you having such a bad day? Yet they will look for things to be offended by. You can't be yourself around them. You have to walk on eggshells and be careful what you say and do, because they're looking for things to be offended by. And then when they don't get their own way, when they get called out on their behaviour and they rage out at you, they blame you. Remember, you're not responsible for another person's feelings. We are only ever responsible for our own feelings. You're not responsible for another person's reactions. We're only responsible for our own reactions. You're not responsible for another person's behaviour. You're only responsible for your own. Disarming phrases are all well and good and effective in protecting yourself from a narcissistic individual. A narcissist will not take them on board. They are playing a game of chess with you. They already have in mind, if they make this move, what move you will make, and what they can do to make you look like the terrible person, what they can do to guilt trip you. The way to win a narcissist is by taking the pieces off the board, taking your supply away from them. Stop playing the chess game with them. Stop giving them the move. Give them one-word boring answers that they have nothing to go on. Things like, okay, yes, no. Don't give them anything that they can go on. Keep it simple. Make sure they can't. Narcissistic people have a knack of twisting everything to their advantage. Don't give them anything to twist. They have an inability to empathise. They lack the compassion. They have a sense of entitlement. They have that arrogance. They have a need to always be right. They will often escalate their manipulation and gaslighting to manipulate and control when they feel like they're not getting their own way, or when they believe they've been called out, or when they believe they've been challenged. When faced with any form of criticism or confrontation, narcissistic individuals take this personally and they react very defensively. They will be very hostile due to their fragile sense of self, their fragile ego, their low sense of self-esteem. They have an inability to handle any form of perceived criticism, and it often leads to that explosive rage and the shift in the blame over to you. Using these disarming phrases is not going to compute within their mind. It's more to protect yourself from them, to remember that you do feel sorry that they feel that way, but that's not your responsibility. You don't have to clean up after them. You can accept their perception of you. Doesn't mean you have to agree with them or change who you are to please them. You have no right to control how they see you. That is on them, not you. You don't have to try and show them who you are as a person. If they can't recognize you, that's on them. What you'll often notice with narcissistic individuals is they have that kind of splitting, that black and white thinking. They either see you as all good or all bad. And there's no in between. It depends on whether or not they're getting their needs met. If they're getting their needs met, you're all good at that moment. If they're not, you're all bad at that moment, and they seek to punish you. Whereby you can often see the good and the bad in them. And even when the bad comes out, you make excuses of, oh, they're having a hard time. Oh, it must be me. I didn't do something quite right. And you change to bring the good out there. You can see both sides, which is why it's quite difficult to walk away. Narcissists don't see both sides. They just see the good when they're exploiting you and getting their needs met from you, and the bad when they walk away and ghost you and fall silent on you. Approach any interaction with a narcissistic individual with caution. You've got to have that barrier up that they cannot take down, because if they can take it down, they will take you down with them. They're aiming low and they're aiming to drag you down with them. If anyone has any thoughts on this video, please do add those into the comments for people reading through. Thank you very much to all the returning subscribers and your continued support of the channel. It's greatly appreciated. If you are new to the channel, I'm Elizabeth Shaw. This channel is all about narcissistic behaviour to give you more understanding of the people you might be dealing with within your life, how to handle yourself around those people if you cannot go no contact, and different methods to find what works for you to help you understand and overcome narcissistic and emotional abuse. If you do find the information helpful on the channel, please do subscribe. If you are looking for further help and support in understanding and overcoming narcissistic and emotional abuse, I do have several online guides available, and those teachable links are in the video description. If you're looking for someone to speak to, I have partnered with BetterHelp, and their sponsored link is also in the video description. I do also have a few books out on Amazon: 15 Rules to Deal with Narcissistic Individuals If You Cannot Go No Contact, a Narcissists Handbook, which is the ultimate guide to understanding and overcoming narcissistic and emotional abuse, and how to create boundaries around those who have no respect for your boundaries. I shall also link those into the description if you'd like to go and check them out. Go out there and create the day that you deserve, because you do deserve to have an amazing day. Bye.